Ladies and gentlemen, many Zerg gamers have been getting accosted, assaulted, harassed, and otherwise made to be in a bad situation by Cannon Rush. And many people said, well, Cannon Rushing, do people still even do that? Yes, they do. It happened to me today. And it could happen to you as well. And that really raises the question of what can we do as a Zerg to stay safe when people will cannon us. I'm going to talk you through this, not just strategically, but emotionally. What it feels like to be cannon rushed, because the mindset you have has a major impact on how well you can respond to it. So I'm just a macro Zerg, right? I love going hatch first. Getting a quick third, getting hella drones, 4th and a 5th base hive, and just like macro, you know? But some people, they like to take a different stance at the start. They like to get a little bit up in your business. This is a Forge Nexus gateway, full wall currently. And the probe does this. And this is when you start to think about a lot of things very fast. If you have a normal, peaceful macro game, cool. That's great. In the early game, it's actually pretty chill because both people just make workers and scout each other. But in this case, my opponent is dropping heavy investments right next to my base right at the start of the game. So I have to choose of, do I try to stop this, or do I choose to expand elsewhere or do something else? Or is it a fake? Okay, now it's probably not a fake. That's very expensive. 400 minerals in the early game. What does this tell me? This tells me that my opponent does not have much to do with gas right now. They're probably mineral only currently, and if we look at their base, that is correct. They are mineral only. So the downside of cannon rushing to start is you sacrifice either tech or your expansion. They can't do both. They can't cannon rush you and tech and expand. They have to choose two. So they're choosing to expand into cannon. Eco cannon rush. What do we do as a Zerg? You can't pull drones against this because you can't get in. You won't be able to get anything in here, and by the time your drones would kill this pylon, the cannons are done and you're losing drones. So it's kind of pointless. So what I do is I take a second gas. Think of it like your water level is rising because there's now a dam that's right here. They're trying to jam up your river. If we're trying to have Zerg business and commerce in this area, we need access to this area. So they're putting something very gross in our ecosystem. And as Zergs, emotionally, that is offensive. I'm offended emotionally as a Zerg that you would not let me hatch first, but I will now have to play out the match given that you have chosen to do this to me. So we cancel it. I don't think I can save this, so I'm just gonna go somewhere else. I will take my business elsewhere, and to myself, mentally, I will say, I see how it is. I see how it is. That's okay. I'm not mad, I'm just upset. So we're gonna scout now. And we see Gateway Forge pylon and the base. So my mindset here is, all right, they're ahead now, if we're just gonna play passive and straight up, because their base is done chrono boosted making probes, and my base is being built in a weird spot. So their second base setup compared to mine is not good. The flip side of all this is I went for a lair right after the queen. So I'm going really high tech really fast on the one base. Their one base has more workers than me right now, but it's really hard for them to defend all of this area to Nidus. There's just so much space, and they had to put a lot of their buildings at the wall. So Nidus is a way of punishing a cannon rusher for having their buildings overly invested just in the front. Because that's usually what a Forge player has to do. Because they can only make buildings early. They can use buildings to delay or attack you. And then they also need to use buildings to defend because they don't have things like many gateways or early gateway tech. The Stargate is pretty late. So I just have my queen working at this, and I'm going to Nidus him. One base, Roach Ravager, Queen laying Nidus is very dangerous for Protoss, and they usually won't have much at this stage of the game. You might be asking, well, could the opponent make some gateway units to deny Nidus? They could. They don't usually want to. If you want to make Stargate stuff, you usually want to start making that as soon as possible. And they also can't really afford much in terms of a bunch of gateway units. So I'm just dropping the Nidus as soon as my lair is done, making a second queen as soon as my lair is done. So I'm going to have 2 queens, 3 Ravagers, and a bunch of Lings, basically. And I have this as a plan B, so I can drone this as my follow-up. And I have Overlord Vision here. And I have Overlord Vision here. So the first Void Ray is in play, and they're basically on a timer to kill the Overlords. If they don't kill the Overlords in time and I get the Nidus off, it's going to be very bad for them in several ways, which you will see very soon. So the Nidus is starting. I'm just going to put it down here, and I'm putting this Overlord in front of it to drop creep. And then, oh no, the Void Ray was pretty close to it. The probes are all pulled, and they stopped it. But we immediately start another one. We are putting them on a timer. I'm going to get a Nidus in your base unless you stop me with units. And this one is pretty far. The Oracle hasn't turned on yet. Oracle turns on. Probes are pulled. Void Ray is coming. Queen is out. Transfuse the Nidus. Transfuse the Nidus again. That's 2 Niduses, or 2 transfuses of value on the Nidus, which is basically like another Nidus of health. And now I have Queen Mass Ling with some Ravager in their main. This is uncomfortable. So you know that emotion we were talking about whenever they can in my base and how that felt like icky? This similarly feels icky to the Protoss. And in my defense, I would say it's because they chose an icky game. But this is what Zerg can do, basically. If you want to be like, okay, you want to play icky? I'll play icky. Have this in your main. This is unfun for Protoss now. They're jammed up 29 of 16 on one base, and they walled themselves off so they can't get out. They are stuck. Hella stuck. And there's no robo to get a probe out, and there's no probe on the map. So by Nidusing the main, instead of pushing the wall, we punish them for having all their buildings at the front. And now we've taken the high ground, and anyone who has watched Star Wars movies with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker knows how that plays out. It doesn't matter how good you think you are. If you have the low ground, you're gonna have a bad time. They have a lot of buildings, but they have low ground. And I have high ground Queen Ravager. That combo of units is just so difficult for the Void Rays to deal with. And the Ravagers have simply killed the Stargate. And they're supply blocked. This is a very icky time for the Protoss. Can throw Biles out to try to hit the Void Rays. I probably should just hit buildings here. But I could drone whenever. I'm being pretty aggressive by continuing to attack here and make more Lings. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but it's cool. I don't really want to yeet my units into this because of how many buildings heal each other. So I'm mainly trying to keep my stuff together and just take good trades. Because with Corrosive Bile, I can take very good trades using a cooldown for damage, and buildings can't dodge Corrosive Bile. And it's really annoying for your probes to have to dodge Corrosive Biles. A base is very unsafe if there are Corrosive Biles that could hit you while you're mining. Zerg, Terran, and Protoss workers would all agree that's not something you want. But it's something the Protoss is getting right now, and that's not fun. But they're basically being punished because they didn't have enough tech in time to deal with the one base of Ravager, Queen, Ling, Nidus value. And it's a problem. But they are getting Tempests up, and Tempests outrange all of this, so I will have to eventually leave, potentially, with the Tempest, so that's a good call. And really the only thing they can do aside from make Void Rays. Carriers, I think if one came out, the Queens could probably kill the Interceptors, so Tempest is a better call. But yeah, this is a bad spot for them. They're basically dead. They do have 30 probes still. I'm trying to go in at this, but as you can see, it's pretty awkward to fight the buildings. I could have microed this better. I needed to creep. as I did the push. Like, drop a creep tumor through the push would have been way better. This queen, did she walk across the map? How did you get here? Hang on. Hang on. A queen has approached the base from the outside. When did she leave? Oh, did I put a queen in the queen control group? And then walk her across the map? Which one of you was it? I'm microing. Certainly I must be doing something very important. Is it this one? Oh shit! Let's go! This queen from 6 minute 40 walked across the whole map. They said you shouldn't walk slow queens across the map with no creep. But this queen said, you know what? I don't want to go the Nidus way. I want to walk and enjoy the scenery. This is a good map that we're fighting on here. Oceanborn, it's a cool map. And then by the time she shows up, she has a transfuse. That's pretty cool. And she's going to be dealing some heavy damage to these buildings. Look at this damage. She's using her claw attack of damage. Given enough time, she may kill this pylon. This is crazy. Maybe this is actually a genius move. I didn't even think about that. I thought it was a mistake. She killed a pylon? Wow. That's insane. Maybe that's the key. Just random mix in one walk queen with your push. They would never suspect it. Yeah, Protoss is dead here. They're gonna try to make Tempest, but I have 2 base income of Spire units. There's no way they can keep pace. Not in this economy. So, they basically die. Void Rays, get killed, Tempest, recall. I can't really attack them for a while, because they have pretty good stuff for killing mutas. But they can't really mine from a third. They can sit the stuff over it, but yeah, it's tough. And we get the 4th base. 3rd base is saturated now. This base is saturated now. We got some value from this base. Ultratech is on the way. Made some corruptors. Now they have Void Ray Tempest. They did kill one of my bases. Actually, 2 of my bases. But it's okay. You're kind of just playing from ahead now. And if they can only make Stargate units because they're broke, I figured why not mix in a couple of these for the last fight. I'll slow it down for the micro. The first impactful fight in terms of micro, aside from the Nidus at the start, you've got Corruptors, which these Corruptors have 1-1. They would struggle against Void Rays, but clumped Void Rays suck against Vipers. The Corruptors go in first. 2 parasitic bombs go out. And look at this damage. The Void Rays have all but lost their shields. And they've been forced to spread out, which is not good for fighting Corruptors. As Void Rays, you don't want to be hurt and spread out if there's a clump of 19 Corruptors. The Tempests are slower than Corruptors. And they're actually made of paper. Not a lot of people know that. The Void Rays, clump as they might, they're simply too hurt. Corruptors are doing focus fire here. They're trying to kill 1 Void Ray with each volley, which is working. And that is great. Anytime you kill a Protoss unit per volley, that is good trading for you, pretty much. If it takes 2 volleys, it's not as good, just because of how high damage Void Rays are. But yeah, now we rule the skies and the game is over. So, there are things you can do against Cannon Rush. You can make the game icky for them too. Just look at the evidence in the main base. There's creep, even to this day. Wow. Stay safe out there. Protoss Cannon will Cannon Rush you.